Moments in time. Two of the most decorated franchises in the NFL now add more moments to their playoff history. The catch in 81.
Going in the end zone. Dwight Clark.
Revenge in 92.
Harper's breaking away.
Championship, baby. Fantastic.
How about them Cowboys?
Then the downfall of 94.
Cowboys have been great champions, but 3 in a row won't happen.
Several words come to mind when looking back on these battles. History. Prestige. Legend. But now, because of last year, only one word truly resonates. Revenge.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
When a rivalry was renewed.
Did he spike it in time? Didn't get it spiked in time. Well, that's a disappointment.
And it led to heartbreak. Today brings your first chance to right those wrongs. To finish what you started and to finally get back to where the Dallas Cowboys belong. It's the Cowboys, 49ers, back together with it all on the line. What will this moment hold?
There are very few rivalries over the landscape of American sports that have as much history, pageantry, and passion as the Cowboys and the 49ers. Today from Levi's Stadium, another chapter will be written and the world will be watching, including from AT&T Stadium and the Miller Lite House, where Cowboys fans are filing in, and the same can be said from the Star in Frisco.
Yes, sir.
Here from
Yes,
the
sir.
Tostitos
Yes,
Championship
sir.
Plaza.
Yes, sir.
Cowboys Nation is ready for another playoff bout. It's the divisional round in the NFL playoffs. Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, as we welcome you in to Cowboys Pregame Live, presented by WinStar World Casinos and Resorts. This is amazing because the Cowboys have a chance to do something they haven't done in 27 years. And that is get back to an NFC title game. Alongside Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans, along with Cowboys Nation.
Yes,
that
sir.
is showed out
Yes,
in force here from Frisco. Gentlemen, everything on the line for the Dallas Cowboys. They have to beat San Francisco today. They have to go on the road. They'll have to beat Philadelphia next week if they want to get back to the Super Bowl. But first, it starts with this 49ers team. Why is this rivalry so heralded in the NFL?
I think it's just because of the history of the game. I mean, you talk about how many playoff matchups that the Dallas Cowboys have been in there with the 49ers out there. Our very own Nate Newton, he knows exactly what I'm talking about here. So this is another historic rivalry out there. Playoffs on the line. Do or don't. You go home, you win, you keep going on. This is going to be an amazing atmosphere tonight in San Francisco.
You know, man, Barry, you talk about the different opportunities, right? Every single time you have a chance to go to the playoffs, it's a big deal. Last year, you showed up in the same position, and you did not have the opportunity to go on to the next round. You took care of week 1 last week against Tampa. Now the 49ers have stepped up in front of you once again. It's payback season, y'all.
History repeats itself over and over again. Last time I was in that house, we went in there and took it with a Alvin Harper like 90-yard bomb to close out this thing. I'm looking for these Cowboys to get hyped, get right, and let's stay tight and do this thing tonight.
I mean, if they're anything like what we've seen from Cowboys Nation already, they're ready to roll going into Levi's Stadium. It's the 9th all-time playoff meeting between the two franchises, tied for the most in NFL history. The 8th went in favor of San Francisco. You mentioned it last year, 23-17 at AT&T Stadium, a game that really left Cowboys Nation heartbroken. How do these two teams vary this year from last year and from that matchup they last saw each other in?
I feel like these teams are two completely different teams when you talk about the playmakers especially. I believe CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard have taken their games up to the next level. It's way different than where they were at last year. And then you look at the 49ers. They are a different animal with Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. He adds a level of, or a new type of dimension to an already explosive offense out there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You talk about the defense of the Dallas Cowboys. They're not getting the same amount of takeaways as they were last year, but I feel like as if they're getting more pressure. And then offensively, you talk about the 49ers, they're completely different. Yeah. You add a C-Mac into the fold, and all of a sudden, you have another playmaker who is an absolute beast. This guy has 71 more rushing attempts than Debo, 52 receptions, another 4 receptions behind just Debo himself. And then you think about, he has 10 touchdowns, Debo only has 5. He added another explosive player to their lineup, but that's somebody else you have to worry about.
As you say, C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey, yeah, he's the most dynamic thing. But I think for the first time, they have a quarterback in Brock Purdy that understands how to run this offense with efficiency. That is the big difference from last year. And the big difference for the Cowboys is they're a better team, they're more mature, and they understand how to play in this moment.
Yeah, got to find a way to have some playoff success. This team already has some playoff success thanks to their win last week against Tampa Bay. Dak Prescott had a phenomenal performance. QB1 showed out on the road against the Buccaneers in that game. You take a look at his numbers and what he was able to do. 5 total touchdowns against Tampa Bay a week ago, 305 passing yards. Quite possibly one of his best games in a Cowboys uniform. Does he need to replicate that success this week, though?
I don't think he needs to go out there and throw 5 touchdowns again, even though that would help. But I don't think he needs to do all of that. I just think he needs to have another mistake-free football game out there because we know with the 49ers, they're too explosive to give themselves extra chances to score touchdowns. So if Dak Prescott is able to go out there, play mistake-free, get the ball to his playmakers, let them do what they do best, this Dallas Cowboys football team will always stand a chance to win.
Agreed. I don't care about the stat line that he had last week. That was amazing. It helped lead to a victory against Tampa. I need him to repeat 3 different things. I need him to repeat his decision-making, which was awesome. I need him to utilize his legs to get that young Dak back like my boy Nate Dogg likes. And then I need him to, like you said, Barry, have 0 turnovers. If he does those 3 things, he puts Dallas in a position to win a ball game.
When he came into this league, this kid played with instincts. He found that last week, going back to this, knowing how to move around in the pocket, knowing when to go and get those 24 yards and that touchdown. This kid played excellent. All I need for you is to continue to be rookie Dak.
And use the legs a little bit. He showed that last week, right, Nate?
Yes, sir.
That's something you wanted to see.
Definitely. I mean, and that comes with instincts of moving around in the pocket. He always gets himself going. When he comes out trying to just fire, he seems to be a little bit off. But if he get hit a little bit and he hand that thing off to Zeke and he hand that thing off to Paul, then he see how the defense sets and he sees coverages and he make great decisions last week.
And it keeps the defense off balance.
Yes.
You saw that against the Buccaneers last week. He's going to try and continue that momentum into this week, but he keeps a level head at doing so. Here's what Dak Prescott said earlier in the week when talking about this matchup with San Francisco.
Using that loss last year as a motivation and just kind of the focal point, I guess, of the resiliency that we carried into the offseason, obviously carried into this year. We get a chance to go back and at their place do something that we want to do.
Your focus is obviously the team and its success, but last week's win for you, just the personal gratification of, what your playoff record was coming in, how you played in the Washington game, just what that does for you, if anything, going forward.
I mean, I've got all the confidence in myself. I always have bad games, good games, regardless. But I think it gives confidence just to this team, just allows us just to, obviously get to the next round and win a game. But, nothing's about my individual record or anything like that. I'm just completely focused in on worried about this team winning every game to give us the opportunity to play the next week.
How much more comfortable are you guys for this moment against San Francisco this year than you were last year?
I just think it's a different team, a much more mature team, much more connected, better brotherhood and culture, allowing a lot of carryover in roster and coaches that allows us to use that last year experience, not only just in this game, but just throughout this season as we've built the foundation that we've created, and now we can lean on that as we move forward and go into this game.
Dak Prescott and the Cowboys getting ready to take on the 49ers out at Levi's Stadium in just a little over an hour. Let's take our trip out to Levi's on the West Coast and hear from our very own Nick Eatman, who is live on the sidelines. Nick, what's the trip been like out there? What's the anticipation like from Levi's Stadium for this matchup?
Well, the anticipation is that here we've been talking about this for a whole year, and so now it's finally here. I mean, the Cowboys kind of had restructured their team this year to try to beat San Francisco, to try to not be out-physicaled, in a game like this, a game that really matters. And so not only have the Cowboys had a good season this year, they're better than they were last year, but the 49ers are as well. So, it's kind of been trending up this whole way, and then, here we are. It's in San Francisco, a lot of Cowboy fans here, but it's going to be a tough place to play for Dallas. Very windy, cool. It's a beautiful day, but it's still, it's going to be an atmosphere to go to the NFC Championship game. I mean, that's what it's about. Everything that we've asked for, we're getting here.
It's really one of those matchups that everybody waits for as a football fan. You look at this Cowboys team, and you mentioned the way that they're built. Wide receivers have certainly stepped up as of late. Can they continue to take that next step? CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, T.Y. Hilton, to take advantage of a San Francisco secondary that ultimately is probably the weakness of their team.
Yeah, and when you're talking about a really good team, something is weak. But I don't think they're a bad secondary. I mean, I think this all week long you're looking at how are the Cowboys going to win? How can the Cowboys win this game? And that's what you look at. You don't see it as running the ball because that's not the strength. You obviously got to get those guys blocked on the outside. So if they can do all that, then yes, that is one thing that the Cowboys can do to move the ball. And so it's going to have to take more than just CeeDee Lamb. So I agree with you. Gallup, T.Y. Hilton, Noah Brown's going to maybe have to make some plays. I think Dalton Schultz will have a role in this game as well. So I think that's when you're looking at how do the Cowboys win, that's the recipe to do it, is get them blocked and then throw the ball down the field.
How imperative is it for this front seven for Dallas to get after San Francisco's offense and make things tough on the rookie quarterback Brock Purdy?
I think it's imperative. I mean, I think when you look at the games the Cowboys have lost, and I'm kind of throwing Washington out because it was not a normal game. I don't even know what the Cowboys were trying to do. I'm talking about the games that they really lost this year, other than Tampa Bay back in Week 1. Jacksonville, Green Bay, of course, Philadelphia. They neutralized Micah Parsons. They figured out a way to make him guess, make him figure out, is it run, is it pass, and not just be able to just unleash himself at the quarterback. And I think that's going to be the key in this game. If Micah Parsons gets an opportunity to rush the quarterback on a consistent basis, I think that's really going to be a problem for Brock Purdy, and that's going to affect the entire defensive line. The Dorrance Armstrongs, the Tanks, those guys that get to rush. But to me, we all know it starts with Parsons, and if he can be able to unleash himself, that's going to just trickle down to the rest of the D-line.
Lots of eyes on that pass rush. Lots of eyes on Brett Maher this week, of course, after the missed PATs against Tampa Bay a week ago. Is he ready for the challenge to go on the road in another environment like this and have some success?
He's got to be. I mean, he's got to be ready. There's no other kicker. I mean, they brought in a guy this week and all that. I think that was more for show, honestly. I think it was more to try to help him and get his mind right. I don't know if that helped him or not, but he's kicked well this week. He's kicked pretty well out here today. Then again, he kicked well in Tampa Bay. I mean, early on in the pregame. I mean, there was no. I mean, he had a couple misses in Tampa Bay, but it wasn't spraying the ball all over the place. So he's going to have to go out and make his first kick. That's what's got to happen. He's got to do that. And I don't know if you can play into that if you're Mike McCarthy, but if he has an opportunity to get him a field goal and to get him some confidence, I think he'll do that. Of course, he's got to be aggressive. You're playing a lot of different factors here. But if there's an opportunity to get him some confidence, the Cowboys are going to need to figure that out right away.
Nick Eatman joining us from the sidelines at Levi's Stadium. Nick, thanks so much for taking some time. We'll check back with you later in the show as we get back to the desk here. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and Nate Newton, along with Cowboys Nation behind us. Let's continue that conversation with Brett Maher. Barry, I'll start with you. How has your confidence level wavered this last week? Because 4 missed PATs a bit out of the ordinary, but that's the thing. It's out of the ordinary.
It is out of the ordinary. And we look at Maher. He's been an okay kicker so far. He has extremely long leg, but when you get closer to the field goal post, maybe 30 yards in, he seems to struggle a little bit there. Now, we understand last week, I think, was an aberration. I mean, 4 missed field goals. I think it got into his head. But hopefully this week in practice, he's had a good, solid week of practice, kicking the football, getting that confidence back up. Because, with all said and done, the Cowboys are going to need his kicks to get a win here against 49ers.
He doesn't have the nickname Money Maher for nothing. And everybody's entitled to a bad game. Shoot, some people are entitled to a terrible game. And that's exactly what he had. Dak had one a few weeks ago, and you saw his comments in the post game. Money Maher is going to show up for Dallas in a big way today. He's going to make a huge contribution towards their way of trying to win this ball game.
He kicked the last PAT he needed to kick. So this kid is good. I had no worries from the beginning. Now, I was a little worried with 5 in a row going back to the extra game. But he kicked the last one, and that's all Big New need to see.
Hey, you got one out of the way. You were able to check the box going into the week of preparation for this one, so that was a huge PAT. Now, let's hear from Mike McCarthy and some of the words he said to the media earlier this week about the matchup, about Maher, and also notching his first playoff win as a Dallas Cowboys head coach.
I mean, you can make a case clearly. I think they're a better team than they were last year. I mean, coming into the postseason, and I think we're clearly a better team than we were at this point last year. And I'm not going statistically. I'm referring more to our complementary football balance. I think our football team, we've been able to win games in all 3 phases. Definitely put ourselves in position to win games. So, and I think that's a huge asset for ourselves.
Quantico for Star Telegram. Did you see enough from Brett yesterday to regain confidence in him?
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, Brett has the ball.
Earlier this year, you got ready to play the Rams. It was brought up to you that you were underdogs in that game. You coined the phrase "we're nobody's underdogs." Your thoughts on what the odds makers say this week?
Well, we'll just stick with that. It worked. So, it's, I mean, I think we all like the fact that, people are doubting you. I think that's part of human nature. I think it's part of the dynamics of each and every one of us. So, we all come from somewhere. But yeah, we're very comfortable in this position. Very comfortable. We clearly go there. We're clearly going there expecting to win. So just make no bones about that. Regardless of and I understand they have a job to do too. But we know the type of environment we're getting ready to go into. I mean, it's going to be a great environment. To be a huge challenge. We're counting on the Dallas Cowboy fans to show up. We know they will. But we're playing a tremendous football team. And we're in tune with that, and we know the way we need to play and what we need to do to win a game.
Mike McCarthy, of course, notching his first win in the playoffs as head coach for the Cowboys. But, guys, what has impressed you the most about what he's done this year and the success that he's had?
I've just been impressed with the way this guy has been able to turn this locker room and this culture into a winning atmosphere. When you talk about it, this guy lost his quarterback one. He lost his Hall of Fame offensive tackle out there, and he's still able to galvanize the troops and go out there and play to the best of their abilities. This is a man that knows how to lead men, and I think he's the exact coach for the job at the Dallas Cowboys.
Totally agree with you, Barry. You talk about somebody who has obviously playoff experience, Super Bowl experience, somebody who has a great career, but it comes into Dallas, right? All the attention's there, you and your doggone glass bowl, and everybody wants you just to win every single game, right? That's the expectation. Win every game, go to the Super Bowl, get a bunch of rings like Nate Newton. But that's not always how it works out, right? Sometimes you have to overcome some things. Sometimes you have to be resilient, just like their motto of the team this year, and that's what he's done. You would like to have seen them not drop those losses the way in which they did, but to their point, they have always bounced back, and we just hope that continues going forward.
When players believe in coaches, then you can tell by the win record. They won for this guy. They won for him when QB1 went down. They won for him when we thought Kellen Moore was losing his mind with all these passes. He talks to his coordinators, and gets them to understand so they can talk to their position coaches so they can get this transformed to the players. He has done a great job. I thank you, Mike McCarthy, because, boy, I'm ready for this game today.
Well, let's talk about some of those coordinators and the guys that he has relied on this season. Dan Quinn, Kellen Moore, as the defensive and offensive coordinator, respectively, have done great jobs and, of course, are getting some interest in terms of head coaching positions in the NFL. But let's talk about the matchup specifically with Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan. This one's going to be a lot of fun. These two coaches have seen quite a bit of each other. Who do you think has the advantage?
Well, look, I wouldn't say Dan Quinn has an advantage over Shanahan just because they're time coaching it together. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses out there. I believe this matchup will come down to which coordinator can get his team to execute the game plan better. And in that regard, I have to slightly lean towards the 49ers because they've been the more consistent team throughout this season.
Well, Barry was looking at my notes, obviously, because I have the same exact answer. Listen up, both of these coordinators know each other well. These guys both have an elaborate amount of talent on each side of the ball. It's really going to come down to the execution portion. And whoever can execute that game plan. You don't want to overcomplicate things when you get to the playoffs. You want guys to be able to play fast, have a simple game plan, know their assignments, and be able to go out there and run around and hit guys in their mouth. Who's going to do it the best? I don't know. We got to wait to see.
I'm with you guys, man. I respect both of these coaches and what they've asked their players to do. I think Coach Quinn has done the most, with, in my estimation, with less.
Okay.
Coach over there, the big coach over the 49ers, he brought in a nice little running back. He got a superstar wide receiver, so he know what to do with this stuff because he's been working with it a little bit longer, so he may have a slight advantage.
So you're talking about how the talent there is in favor of the Cowboys, or in favor of the 49ers,
yes,
but the coaching staff has done a better job with what they've had.
That's right.
And what they've been given?
Yes, sir. That's what I truly believe that. You know, we have Micah Parsons. We have Diggs. We can lay our hat on that right there. They have McCaffrey. They have even a young Purdy has come in and look like a superstar. They have what's
Kittle,
the big
Debo.
and the beat goes on and on.
Yeah.
You know, he got more to work with. We have a little bit less to work with, but I think our coach has done a great job in working with what he has.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. And Cowboys Nation having some fun. There you go. There's a couple of smiling faces out here at the Tostitos Championship Plaza at the Star in Frisco. Cowboys fans showing out in full force. Now, let's go out to where some more Cowboys fans are beginning to congregate, and that is at the Miller Lite House at AT&T Stadium, where our very own Haley Sutton joins us for the first time this afternoon. Haley, there's quite a few fans behind you out there as well. What's it like out in Arlington?
Yeah, Kyle, I got to tell you, when I got here at around 2 o'clock today, there were already fans lined up at the gates waiting to come in. That's 2 hours before this watch party officially started at the Miller Lite House. And just as soon as they opened those gates, people were literally sprinting to get to their seats. So obviously a lot of Cowboys fans excited. Nobody more excited, though, than Rowdy we just had back behind us. But obviously an exciting time here for Cowboys fans. We're told there's going to be performances. DJ Blackbeard is on the sticks right now, playing some good jams, so everybody's up and dancing. There's good food, good vibes, good energy as we all are waiting for the Cowboys to pick up a big win today, Kyle.
Now, if you had to gauge the way that fans are feeling out at the Miller Lite House, would you say it's a nervous energy or an excitement to take on the San Francisco team that, of course, went into AT&T Stadium last year and came out with a win?
I don't think there's a single person in here who's nervous. I think everyone has showed up. They're excited. We've been hearing Cowboys chants for the last 30 minutes or so. So it really feels like this team, or this fan base rather, feels like the Cowboys have a chance. A lot of exciting stuff happening. I'm sure it'll only get bigger as time goes on.
And we're going to check back in with Haley as well later on. Haley, thanks so much. We'll get back out to AT&T Stadium a couple times. I think I have to agree with her, though. These fans aren't nervous. These fans are ready to roll out here. We've got a loud crowd on hand, and there's certainly going to be one at Levi's Stadium as well. Just as much as the atmosphere can rattle a young quarterback, a defense can rattle a young quarterback, and the Cowboys are going to bring some team speed up against Brock Purdy. Brock had to talk about that earlier in the week and some of the challenges in facing Dallas.
I feel like they're just talented across the board up front. I think they're well coached. You could tell just with their scheme and everything that they do. You know, there's definitely a plan that they have, and they go at it, and everyone. All 5 of their guys, 4 of their guys, whoever's on the field, you know, they pay attention to detail in the pass rush, which I feel like is a good challenge for us. I feel like we've played a handful of teams that, you know, do a good job and are well coached up front, but these guys probably are one of the best at it and will be one of the best challenges that we see.
What is your kind of level of awareness of this particular rival in terms of, you know, the playoffs and things like that, and what's it like being a part of it?
Yeah. Are you talking about just with Cowboys and Niners? Yeah. I mean, obviously in the 90s and stuff, they went at it. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of Super Bowls between the two organizations. And so to be a part of it, I'm very thankful. It's pretty cool. It's like, man, you've seen all those highlights and stuff from the 90s and stuff, and now you fast forward to 2023, and here we are, you know, same 2 teams going at it, fighting for the same thing, which is pretty cool. And I just look at it like, you know, we just want to win. We want to do our part, and all the other stuff will fall into place. It's not like, man, this is going to be some kind of, Netflix documentary or anything like that. I'm not trying to make it bigger than that, but very thankful to be a part of it. The rivalry and everything, and having it come back, obviously, to 2023. So it's going to be a good one.
Well, you have to give the rookie credit. He was the final pick in the NFL draft this past April. Mr. Irrelevant has turned relevant. He's 6-0 as a starter, continues to put up good numbers, including last week against Seattle, taking down the Seahawks, most of that coming in the second half. But has he really seen a defense like this one, like Dallas with Micah Parsons and Leighton Vander Esch? You've got Trayvon Diggs on the outside. Has he really been challenged like that to this point, Barry?
No, I don't think so. I don't believe he's been challenged to that point so far. I mean, he's done an amazing job of driving the bus. They don't ask him to do much. Get the ball out of your hands quick, make great decisions, and let the playmakers like Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, let them do the majority of the work. It's up to Dallas's defense this afternoon to make sure it's all on Brock Purdy's shoulders. If they do that, I think they have a great chance of success in San Francisco.
And that's what it's going to have to be, Barry, because Purdy has been pretty doggone comfortable sitting back there in the pocket, and that's because of their running game. Their running game has been very effective. They use obviously C-Mac in the backfield. They use Deebo Samuels in the backfield. These guys are able to move the chains using the ground game, and when they do that, they force teams to roll to single high safety, roll that safety down to the box, and then once they have that in position, now they use their play action game to get Deebo to the second level, Kittle to the second level, hit their number one receiver, Brandon Ayuk. That is what they do in terms of their game plan. If you want to have an effect on Purdy, you have to take them out of their ability to run the ball.
And when all else fails, he goes straight to George Kittle. When you see him go, he'll drop back. He's running around the pocket. He'll drop back. But when he gets a little bit panicky, he goes straight to number 85. George Kittle settles him down. Make sure we jam him on the line and take care of him, and that'll be all of his options gone. And then he's got to deal with the lineman.
And luckily for the rookie quarterback, he's playing behind one of the best offensive lines in football, Trent Williams at the left tackle spot. They've had a couple of interchangeable guys in the interior, but for the most part, this offensive line has been great for the 49ers. How does Dallas make sure to get home and to get after Brock Purdy to rattle him early?
I believe they have to win their one-on-ones. I mean, we all understand this, that unless Parsons is lined up on Trent Williams, they're going to have some help towards Parsons, double teaming, chipping, whatever you want to call it. But that should leave the guys like DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, those guys in the middle. They should be able to win their one-on-ones. If they're able to do so and rattle Purdy in the pocket, I think they have a great opportunity to force some turnovers and get the ball back to your offense. But you got to win your one-on-ones. If Purdy's back there comfortable, it can be a long afternoon for this Dallas Cowboys defense.
Yeah, you have to win those one-on-one battles, and in order to do that, your front four has to win.
Yes.
You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're blitzing 6 or 7 guys trying to outman them, because they have 6 or 7 man protections majority of the time to ensure that he can sit back there with a solid pocket. You have to have your front four and maybe add one additional guy if you want to put Micah Parsons at the second level to add that extra pressure, but you need your guys to be able to be in position to cover to take away his outlets.
And one thing you have to do if you can't get it, if they getting the ball out quick, they like to throw across the middle. So keep your eyes on his eyes, and he's getting ready to throw. Make sure you get your hands up, man, and close those windows of opportunity.
San Francisco, you see the number on your screen, only 31 sacks allowed this year. Now, Dallas, they're the only team in the NFL with 7 players with 4 or more sacks out of that second level or even the secondary. One of those guys is Micah Parsons, and what he's done in year number 2 has been nothing short of incredible, but he's been off of as a pass rusher for the majority of the time. Do you expect him, Isaiah, you mentioned it a moment ago, that he can maybe take a step back and go to the second level?
Yeah, I expect to see him working around a little bit. You don't want to isolate him on the end, especially when you have a Trent Williams over there. That's the last man that you want him trying to bang his head against, because that's like going into a brick wall. You want to make sure that you work Micah Parsons back like we saw toward the second half of last year when he was at the second level at the linebacker position and he was running stunts from that level, creating internal pressure and really forcing Purdy to be uncomfortable and unsettled back there in the pocket.
Yeah, you don't want to have, Parsons out there limited on one side of the field, because in that case, then the 49ers can always go on the other side, and that'll limit Parsons' basically impact on the game. I love to see him moved around like a chess piece. We saw it earlier this season. We saw it last year when Dan Quinn moves him around, has him in the middle, blitzing that A-gap. Maybe put him over a guard, put him over a tackle, and let him run some stunts out there. I think he's used best when he's like a chess piece and he's confusing this offensive line.
And you know what, the king or the queen you can move the most. I don't know which one you can move the most, but moving the most. Do not run that man over there to Trent Williams. That'll be playing checkers. If we can't stack up them checkers, believe that.
You're out here playing chess, and San Francisco's out there playing checkers. You got it first here from Nate Newton. Now, they do have a couple extra pieces. If we want to be honest and we want to look at what they bring to the table, San Francisco has weapons on the outside. They've got a multitude of guys they can throw the football to, including you've got Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, who actually leads the team in yardage. Isaiah, who's the number one guy that Dan Quinn and this defense have to eliminate first?
There's not just one guy, and that's the problem. I mean, when you look at their personnel, look at it from this perspective. Their third-round draft pick, Danny Gray, gets overlooked. His dude runs a 4.3. He's their clear-out guy. He's the man that tries to take the single high safety out of the picture. Then you have their leading receiver, Brandon Ayuk. He's their big play man. He's the guy who gets you the 20-yard gains and all the big shots across the formation. Deebo Samuel, he's their man beater. If you want to play cover one and play man against these guys, he's going to be up there and run routes all underneath the coverage. George Kittle, you just heard Nate Dogg talk about it. He's their man that's just he's going to body you up. And then all of a sudden you go to Mr. C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is simply just your matchup that you just can't face with a typical guy. So these guys have an answer for whatever it is that you want to do defensively. That's the struggle that they have.
You leaving about it?
I left a little something.
George Kittle is the key to this young guy. When he gets in trouble, when all else fails, he goes to George Kittle. But I will say this right here. Kyle Juszczyk. One thing about Coach Shanahan, he always got a little ace in the hole. And I'm covered. Make sure we tackle this guy and know where he's at because he will slip out of that backfield and hurt you.
Yeah, they got a boatload of talent without a doubt. But to me, it's Deebo Samuel, and it's just not even close. I mean, when you talk about this guy, he can hurt your defense in a multitude of ways. You put him at the running back position, and he's arguably a top 10 running back in the National Football League. And when you talk about receivers, there's no one in the game better with the ball in their hand. When you talk about making people miss, being physical, running through tackles, and basically demoralizing defenses out here, the Dallas Cowboys have got to know where number 19 is at all time because he's a proven game record.
And one of the things that both Ayuk and Deebo Samuel do exceptionally well is run off of the dig route and go to the inside. Barry, as a defender, outline what a dig route actually is for the football fans out there that may not know and why it's so effective, and you might see it a couple times tonight.
It's effective especially against man-to-man coverage because usually you're on the outside shade. You're on the outside shade, and that gives all the in-breaking routes a plenty of opportunity with no resistance from the outside. But to me, I love in-breaking routes. I love dig routes because I'm a safety, and I used to come down there and lay the wood on people coming across the middle. And that's what I need to see from Donovan Wilson out there. Curse all those safeties. If they want to come in there and they want to play inside the hashes, make them pay each and every time.
So offensively, does that take pressure, a little bit of pressure off of a young quarterback? And does it put more pressure on how talented these receivers are?
Yeah, I mean, you take the personnel that these guys have and all the talent and the speed they have, and you couple that with the fact that Shanahan does a great job of putting them in position. You just heard Barry talk about the coverages. Most of the time, they're going to have coverage sitting outside looking in so they can try to, in their perspective, funnel everything in. Well, that's what they want you to do because they're making Purdy simply look straight ahead, deliver the ball over the top with easy, high-precision passes, and that's when those guys are dangerous.
And as we spoke earlier, if you can't get there as a pass rush, you got to connect with his eyes. And when he try to get into the middle, you got to get your hands up. You got to try to tip some of them balls because anything you can do to be an obstacle for this young kid, you got to try it.
So going from dig to Diggs, Trayvon Diggs is going to be on the outside. He's one of the guys that you have to have some step up for, especially in the physicality aspect. He missed some tackles last week. That's no secret. Everybody saw it. Do you need to see more physicality? We'll start with you, Barry, since you are the physical secondary player up on the desk.
Without a doubt, he definitely needs to step up his tackling game. And credit to him, he's done a much better job this year as opposed to last year in tackling. But we all know with Kyle Shanahan's running system, if there's a weakness in your defense, he is going to exploit it. So if these cornerbacks aren't ready to step up and stick their nose into the fire as far as stopping the run game, they can get exposed in a bad way.
The reality is he doesn't want the smoke on the outside. He doesn't want to come up there and stick his head in there and have contact. There's cornerbacks, there were great cornerbacks that were just like that, i.e. when Nate Dogg's teammate, Mr. Deion Sanders. He didn't want to come up and hit anybody, but guess what? Just make sure that you cover your man. But to Barry's point, if you do have a cornerback who is unwilling to come up there and lay the hat at the line of scrimmage and assist in the run defense, then those guys will run in that direction because they know that that is a soft spot and that's something that they can exploit.
You know what? This kid going to be all right. He played in enough big games coming out of Bama to know when he need to come down and lay the hat like old Barry used to do. This boy going to lay the hat today. Don't y'all fret. No, we coming.
Now, the physicality needs to be there from the secondary,
yes.
But it's been said plenty of times this week. You have to win the battle in the trenches. You got to be physical in the trenches. This is going to be a physical matchup. Nate, you had a couple of these battles with San Francisco back in the day, and you had some running mates that did it with you. Tell me a little bit about Kevin Gogan.
Gogan is a beast, man. He was nasty. He did what it took. Wasn't the most athletic guy. He was 6'6", probably about 320 on a good day, bringing the heat, coming downhill. But one thing we would do, we'll put a little elbow in there to tighten you up a little bit.
Yeah, so he was a running mate with you for quite some time. Played with the Cowboys from 1987 to 1999. Two-time Super Bowl champ. He was an All-Pro, and now he's officially a guest on Cowboys Pregame Live. Let's go back out there to Levi Stadium. Kevin, how's it going? What's the atmosphere feel like?
Man, this is not the 49er crowd I remember. They got rid of the wine and cheese group, and they look like they got the Bang Bang E40 group out here. This is pretty. It's a live show out here.
Hey, so Kev, this is Big Nate. How you doing, sir? How is the family?
Man, Nate, everyone is good, man. I just love hearing your voice, dude. I've been watching you on YouTube, man. You know. I every now and then I laugh at some of the things that we used to do that we probably can't tell on the radio. But man, I absolutely love you, brother. There's no doubt about it, and I really appreciate what we went through to get to this spot. And I happened to do it for both these teams. I was a world-class prostitute, and I really feel.
I told y'all.
I really feel back. I grew up in San Francisco, and the 49ers sucked, and then they got good, and then it was against the Cowboys, and then I came to Dallas, and the Cowboys got good, and it was so there's been so many heartstrings tugged here that. I'm just glad to see these two teams back on top, to be honest with you.
What will it take for what is the one key thing you think it would take for either one of these teams to win the game? What will win this game for this Cowboys or 49ers team?
Man, Nate, that's just an easy answer for me. I believe it starts up front. When we had it going on, dude, at the beginning we didn't have the guys up front to get it done, let alone anywhere else on the field. So today, the Niners got a nice little offensive line. They got a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit of weakness at right tackle. Cowboys got a good pass rush, man. That number 11's got some game. I mean, some absolute game. So I see some good matchups. It's going to come down to the horses in the middle. There's no doubt.
Now, you've been on both sides of this matchup, like you said. I'm not going to say the word that you used a couple moments ago, but I like the fact that you pointed it out at least. But what does this rivalry mean, and how much would a win today mean for whoever comes out on top?
Oh, this is just not a win for today. This is a win for 30 years of, I mean, I know it's not the Super Bowl, but you can't convince me that those games in the 90s and some of the other games were not Super Bowl worthy games that you would have loved to have seen in the Super Bowl. So these games, they mean a lot to each franchise, but they mean a lot to the history of this rivalry, which is a damn, I don't go to very many games. I don't come out of the mountain for a whole lot, but man, I drove to this game just because I wanted to see the atmosphere, and I wanted to see is this rivalry back at what it used to be? Because if it is, I'm down to see it. No doubt.
Kevin Gogan joining us here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Kevin, we're certainly glad you came out of the mountain to join us for this one. It's been a ton of fun catching up with you. Enjoy the game. Go Cowboys. And I'm sure Nate will catch us up on how this went.
Send him a few dollars. I mean, since he's
working
bucks? Like that, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of paychecks are you getting up here? To be able to spare some?
No, that's our boy.
Hey,
love you, Kev.
Hey, man, you guys take it easy, Nate. Thank you very much, man.
There he goes, Kevin Gogan, and wow, that was
that's
comedy.
I told him.
Comedy. Unbelievable. I'm glad we got to where we did. We pushed the envelope, but we didn't go very much further, so that's good. Love that here on Pregame Live. Let's talk about some of the guys that are going to win the battle in the trenches, and behind those trenches is Christian McCaffrey, one of the best tailbacks in the NFL right now, and he has been. He leads the NFL in scrimmage yardage since he joined the San Francisco 49ers. Isaiah, when you look at Run CMC and what he's brought to the table for this 49ers bunch, where is he going to try and attack Dallas?
Man, this dude's all over the place. I mean, you talk about somebody who's only played in 11 games, and yet he's still leading this team in rushing. You talk about somebody who's only played in 11 games, and yet he's just behind Deebo Samuels in the amount of receptions. This dude is immaculate. He is one of the best, most versatile backs that's ever touched the field. And the San Francisco 49ers, I like how bold they were to go out there and get him. Now Dallas has to find a way to deal with him.
You know, a lot of people don't understand how tough he is in running between the tackles. And that's where we got to make sure that he doesn't run in between the tackles, because it gives them too many options. Then they can throw, they'll be able to throw the ball well if he can run between tackles. But what we need to do is make sure that don't happen. Hank can show up.
He's going to have to show up because, like you mentioned, this guy is tough. He can run in between the tackles, has a speed to go on the outside as well. And when you talk about all-purpose backs, this guy has got to be at the top of the list. I think he's transformed this 49ers offense into something that they didn't have in these years past. I mean, when you have a back like that that's that explosive and able to have a mismatch nightmare against defenses out there, he's a headache for opposing defensive coordinators for sure.
He had 15 carries, 119 yards rushing, 17 more receiving, and a touchdown last week in that win over the Seattle Seahawks. Nate, who needs to step up out of the second level? Linebackers between LVE and Micah Parsons. Who's got to play better in order to slow down McCaffrey?
Leighton definitely has to play better. Leighton has to make sure everybody lined up, everybody's technique sound. He has to make sure we don't get out leverage because of the guys we've talked about. And he's got to come down here with a viciousness we haven't seen. It's playoff time, Leighton. You got to stick your head in there, man, and make some plays.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm with you, Big Nate. I got to go with LVE on this one. Both of these linebackers are going to have a huge game for this team to be successful. But when you look at it overall, LVE is going to be tasked to be that guy to go sideline to sideline and downhill and try to contain this rushing attack for the 49ers. And also, he's going to have to be a presence in the middle of the field because just like you said earlier, that's where the 49ers love to attack in the passing attack, giving it to their playmakers, whether it's Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, any of those guys. So LVE, he's going to have to shine in the middle of the field as well as this rushing attack.
Totally agree. I'm going to go with the LVE train as well. I need him to be physical. I know he's had his health issues in the past. I don't want to see any of that. I want to see him come down here and be disciplined, be lane savvy, okay, because C-Mac will cut back on you, all right? But make sure when you come downhill, make sure that your presence is felt, and the next time they decide to step up to the line of scrimmage, they know exactly where you're at.
And, of course, the physicality from Micah Parsons is going to have to be off the chart. But just based off of what we heard from him earlier in the week, he's ready to go. He gave one of the most impassionate and incredible locker room speeches that you've heard as a part of the Dallas Cowboys. Here's a slight piece of that. We can't play the whole thing. I wish we could, but here's Micah Parsons and what he said to the media earlier this week.
I really think we beat ourselves last year with the penalties, the offsides, things like that. You know, you just play your game. Like, the biggest misconception is that you got to go out there and be different. You got to go out there and try to out-physical a team or you want to play their game. Why play their game? Play your game. Like, let's play Dallas football. Like, that's all we got to do. Like, we've been playing Dallas football, and we won games. Like, I don't want to go out there and try to out-compete the 49ers. They're going to beat my ass if I play their game. You know, play my game. So I'm going to bring my strengths, and what I bring to the table, they bring their strengths, and let's just battle it out.
What are your impressions of Purdy, and how can you guys make his inexperience a factor in the game?
Disguised, but my impression, I think he showed great poise. I'm a fan of Purdy. I think he came in and did everything the right way. He prepared like he was going to be a starter. When his time came, he's shown a great light. So in terms of him being a rookie, and I think he's surpassed even a lot of rookies even this year who's probably started for teams much longer in great detail. So I definitely wouldn't underestimate him. He might have surprised some people early on and probably thinking no rookie's going to come in and beat us, and he's taken him this far. So super exciting to go against him and see what he got.
When you look at McCaffrey, Ayuk, Kittle, Deebo, have y'all played a team this stacked with that many weapons on the other side?
No, but I don't think they faced nobody like us yet this year either. So it's really matchup against matchup. I don't think, across the board. People always talk about what they face and what about what they face, and they thinking how we gonna stop them. And I think we're pretty hard to stop ourselves. So that's what we gotta focus on, not beat ourselves.
Speaking of that memory, last week you talked about legends. They make their name in the postseason. You had a great start. This is a bigger stage. But what we gonna see from Micah?
The bigger the stage, the bigger the player, right?
So, of course, the Cowboys getting a win against Tampa Bay on a Monday night. We're back on Sunday, and you know what that means. It's time for a little bit of church service back again here on Cowboys Pregame Live. We've got Barry Church here, former safety for this Dallas Cowboys franchise, and I want to know how to stop Christian McCaffrey. It's not an easy question to answer. How do you do it for the Cowboys in 3 easy steps?
Well, the first step we're talking about, when you talk about Christian McCaffrey, this guy is an elusive, extremely all-purpose back out there. But to do that, that front seven has got to be gap discipline. If they're not gap discipline out there, it could be a long afternoon. We don't need guys playing hero ball. Stay in your gap and make sure you try to contain this rushing attack as a unit. This is a guy, if you try to two-gap and go over there thinking he's going to go far over that way, he can put his foot in the ground and go to the hole that you just vacated. So you got to be gap discipline out there. That goes for the D-line, linebackers as well. LVE, Anthony Barr, Damone Clark, I need y'all to come downhill.
Okay, so speaking on that, is that a defensive line heavy, or is it more so toward the linebackers?
It's more so towards the linebackers. We understand that defensive line, they're going to stay in their gaps. They're going to be there waiting for that Christian McCaffrey to come up to the hole. LVE, Barr, Damone Clark, they're going to be sideline to sideline, downhill, making sure they match whatever Christian McCaffrey does out there. He is elusive, so make sure when you get to him, wrap up.
And you see that number 2 up there as well, gang tackling. That's your next point. You got to get it done.
You got to get it done as far as gang tackling. This guy is so elusive. He can make you look like a fool in a phone booth out there. So it doesn't have to have just one guy out there. One guy in space is not going to cut it. I need 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 hats to the ball at the same time. This guy is that dangerous and that explosive. If you go out there with one man trying to bring him down, it's not going to work, and we're looking at 30 to 40-yard gains out there. Come as a unit to try to slow this man down. We're going to have to do so.
And, okay, you talked about it earlier, rallying to the ball, but it's the physicality that's going to set the tone.
At the end of the day, this is the key that we need the most. You got to be physical with this guy, down in and down out for 4 quarters. I don't care if he's running the ball, receiving the ball, or if he's trying to block out there. You got to make him pay. Those big guys in the middle, whether it's Carlos Watkins, Bohanna, whoever the case may be, when you tackle this man, put all 300-plus pounds on this guy and lay him down. I want the 3rd quarter and the 4th quarter to come around, that guy not trying to put his foot in the ground and cut back. He's going to mosey on out of bounds, start waving that white flag. We need this Cowboys team to be physical early and often to make sure you get this guy on the ground. That's the end of the story. You got to be physical with this guy.
You said it earlier, the way that you rally the troops, I'm ready to go run up against Christian McCaffrey.
We ready.
What about these fans?
Are y'all ready?
Look at everybody here.
Let's go. We going crazy today.
I'm going to try and get them to do a Go Cowboys. Can I get a Go Cowboys on 3? 1, 2, 3. Go! The fans are ready. Barry Church is ready.
Already.
The Cowboys defense going to have to slow down San Francisco and Christian McCaffrey, but he's the one that leads the way for San Francisco. Who leads the way for the Dallas Cowboys? Let's go back out to the Miller Litehouse at AT&T Stadium where Haley Sutton is standing by. Who does lead the way for the Cowboys?
Yeah, Kyle, well, offensive lineman Avion Collins was elevated to the active roster yesterday ahead of this kickoff against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this isn't something uncommon. It's something that he's done throughout the season as this offensive line has battled through injuries throughout 2022. But listen, Mike McCarthy told us that it's not his impact he makes on the field that makes him so special. It's his brand, linemen lead the way, that has made such an impact in this Dallas Cowboys locker room.
Linemen lead the way. I'm a big believer in it. They started, they set the tone, we follow, we make the plays, but they lead the way.
Linemen lead the way. It's not only a brand that has been circulating around the Dallas Cowboys locker room, but a way of life for America's team.
That saying, linemen lead the way, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think, if we're not playing very well, the offense isn't looking very well. So you hear it all the time on both sides of the football. It starts up front. So that's what I think of. Linemen lead the way. It starts with us, and we've got to do our jobs and execute for everyone else to be able to do theirs.
These are the guys that are in the trenches, holding it down while Dak does his thing.
Whenever someone goes down, we always have someone's always willing to step up. We always practice everyone at every position basically. So at any moment's notice, we don't know if someone's going to go left guard, left tackle, if I'm going center, right, or who knows what's going on, but everyone's always ready no matter what.
Whether it was Tyron Smith's surprise injury at training camp, Terrence Steele's season-ending ACL tear against Houston, or even losing Tyler Biadasz for a few weeks after Thursday Night Football, This year's offensive line has been resilient all season.
It's been cool this year to kind of see different guys play different positions on the fly week to week, and I think it speaks to our preparation and the guys that are coaching us and getting us ready, and it's a special group to be a part of.
Step in second-year Cowboy Avion Collins, who wanted to show some love to his fellow linemen, leading to the creation of Linemen Lead the Way.
It was something that I wanted to start just because I felt that the linemen don't get enough love. We don't get enough love, and I know that's not what we're about. We are the unsung heroes. We don't do it for the recognition. We don't do it for the fame or the glory. We do it because we love our team. We love protecting our team, and that's what we stand for. But I'm like, it's about time we start getting some recognition.
We're lucky at a place like this. I think the offensive line is, held in a high regard here, and people appreciate what we do on a day-to-day basis. So it's really cool to see guys like that kind of rep that, and not only rep it, but talk about it, right? So it's pretty cool.
So as seamless as those rotations may seem at times, remember the work these guys are putting in as they quietly lead the way for the Cowboys this weekend.
The quarterback's behind us, and we're in front. And whether it be TP or Zeke, somebody that we're paving that path for them. We're going to protect them. We're going to make sure nobody touches them, stay out of harm's way, and we're going to lead the way for them. We get all the bangs and bruises. They stay pretty. That's what I always tell myself. So we lead the way for them. Linemen lead the way. We always have. We always will be from now to the end of time.
Linemen lead the way. Guys, you heard Avion say it there. He likes to get dirty so that Dak Prescott can stay clean. That's their goal this week. Keep Dak Prescott from getting sacked so he can get out there in the pocket, operate well, and do what he does best, throw touchdowns ahead of this one against San Francisco. Now, you can go to linemenleadtheway.com to pick up some of that merch that Avion sells. He says some of the proceeds go towards the Damar Hamlin Foundation right now to help with his condition right now. So you can go to linemenleadtheway.com to get some of this. Now, I heard you get some of the Cowboys fans excited saying go Cowboys.com. Let's see if we can get some of these guys. Give me a let's go Cowboys! You asked if they were nervous earlier, Kyle. There is no nervous energy here. We are cheering from the Cowboys from here at AT&T Stadium.
That's awesome, Haley, and we've got plenty of Cowboys fans behind us as well, having some fun. We'll check back out there in just a little bit, but man, Miller Lighthouse ready, Tostitos Championship Plaza out here at the Star is ready, Levi Stadium getting ready as well. But how ready are the Cowboys offensive line? Because she just talked about it. Collins, one of those guys elevated. They're going to have their hands full with Nick Bosa and San Francisco. This is a front seven that was tops in the league and what they brought to the table. And Nick Bosa himself, possibly the defensive player of the year. What does he do best off of the line of scrimmage, Isaiah, that's going to really challenge this Cowboys front?
He's a complete beast. I mean, you talking about he's their version of Micah Parsons, just a little bit different complexion. That's the only difference. I mean, this dude, he's an absolute man on the outside, 18.5 sacks. You mentioned it. He can create problems for no matter what tackle that you have out there. It doesn't matter if he's going against Tyler Smith or Tyron Smith. Either way, he's going to cause problems and havoc. But you can control him. If you can run up the middle of this offensive line and create some issues for them at the second level in terms of controlling Fred Warner, then you can let him ring around the rosy all day long.
You know, the thing about this kid, man, is he can get his hands inside and come with he's able to stop the run is what I'm trying to say. He can do both run stopping and pass rushing. 18.5 sacks, several hits behind the line of scrimmage per game. We have to slow him down because he is the heartbeat. So our two tackles have their hands full.
All right, Nate. So if he's the heartbeat, what is Fred Warner and what he brings to the table? Because he also is one of the best in the league at doing what he does well. First team All-Pro. He has 130 tackles this year. Here's his numbers. He's the only player in the NFL with 130 tackles and 10 pass breakups. Nate, how do you slow him down?
With technique. You're not going to be able to give him a head fake as a guard.
That sounded way too easy.
No. I'm going to give it to you. You're going to be able to fake him out with a head fake. You're going to have to get on him. You're going to have to get your hands inside of him. You're going to have to play with great leverage. And when you're trying to get to the outside and your tight ends have to block down on him, they have to come with force and put their head across his body to keep him from penetrating. And then you ask me, he ain't the heart, but he is the mastermind that lines everybody up. Yes, he is.
Without a doubt, if it's me, I'm using misdirection. I'm using his aggressiveness and speed speed to kind of overplay the ball. So you got to have misdirection going on there. And if you need that misdirection, you got to have that run game going because play action can come right off of that. Now, if we're able to run the ball and Fred Warner's struggling out there, then that play action comes alive, and that's where I think Dak Prescott does his best work.
If you can control Javon Kinlaw and Eric Armstead in the heart of their defense, you can work your way up to Fred Warner. If you can push these guys back into him and he can't see around those big fellas, and all of a sudden you're putting a 300-pound lineman on him, that's how you take him out the ball game.
How much does a player like Warner Berry affect a run defense and allowing them to have numbers as low as those?
Well, when you talk about run defense, this guy is with the definition of sideline to sideline and downhill. He's able to get off blockers. You know, you got those 300-pounders coming up there. It's not easy to get those guys up off you at all, but he does a great job of locking them out, still being able to see where the running back's going, and has the speed to get off of that and match whatever running back is doing out there. To me, he is the best off-the-ball linebacker there is in the National Football League.
I agree with you, Barry. I think that his speed and the attributes that he has allows for him to be able to go out there and make those plays. However, the main thing for him is his physicality and his aggression. This dude comes downhill. A guy like Nate is going to come up there and hit you first. He's not going to be the one that receives the hit. Warner likes to be the one to initiate the contact. Our offensive line has to be more physical and a little bit more angrier than he is.
I tell you what, man, you guys said some great things. It's just going to, are you willing as a lineman to be physical with him? Will you do that, take that extra step? Will you go just a little bit beyond the Wilson? Because if you don't, these guys are willing to do that. All those big 300-pounders you're talking about, especially Armstead in the middle, this is the guy that keeps him running clear and free. We have to knock them back and make him run the hump. You're so right, Isaiah.
And, of course, the tailbacks coming out of the backfield, Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, are going to need to have some success and probably put a shoulder into a couple defenders and break some tackles. That's going to be a huge part of this today because it won't be easy, even if they do get up to the second level. Here's what Zeke had to say earlier in the week about the challenge at hand.
Just the next step of this Super Bowl journey. We're definitely ready to play these guys. It's definitely going to be a good test, and I think we're ready.
Any memories from last year motivate y'all?
You definitely got to bring last year with you. Got to bring that feeling that we felt. But it's a new year. Just got to go out there and do what we do, play our ball. I think we're ready for this one.
Faced a lot of defenses this year that wanted to take the run away and kind of set their defense to do it. How does San Francisco fit into that with how you face them? And are they one of the harder teams to run against just because of their personnel and how they go about it?
They definitely have a very talented front. It starts with those guys. It starts with, those edge rushers. He got a good interior guy. He got a great linebacker core. So, that front's definitely tough, and they prevent some challenges. But, I think even sometimes when a run doesn't work as well, you still get them to commit that extra guy to the box, and that opens up that play action. So, you commit to running the football, it's going to open other stuff up, and, we just got to find some type of success in that run game.
All eyes on Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott today against the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, Tony Pollard missing a little bit of time toward the back half of the regular season, but he's still put up some great numbers over the last 5 games, and those that have really rivaled what Ezekiel Elliott has brought to the table as well. How much pressure is on Tony Pollard to get the job done, because he might be that number one punch in the 1-2 punch for Dallas?
I think there's a little bit of pressure. And look, I love Zeke. I love Zeke's game, and I still think he's the heartbeat of this team. But overall, I think it's time to kind of let Tony Pollard get the majority of the carries out here. If we're being honest, Pollard has been the better running back the entire season.
You're right.
Being honest out there. And I think the days of believing that he can't shoulder the load, the heavy workload, I think those are long gone behind us. And look, we've all been to the playoffs and we all won playoff games. And I think to win these games, you got to have explosive plays, and you have to get the ball into the end zone. And I believe Tony Pollard gives you the best chance to do both of those things.
Man, I don't care who leads the 1-2 punch, who leads the Sierra 1-2 step. As long as you got these guys in the ball game together and they're interchangeable and they're both effective in what they bring to this offense, I do not care who gets the most carries. So if Skip Pete, the great Skip Pete, the running backs coach for the Dallas Cowboys, sees that these guys are both valuable, then they're both valuable. And interchange them however you need be.
And you can feel free to do that. When you have a guy like Tony Pollard, man, that can relieve Zeke of what he's doing, and that's hammering up. Zeke's numbers have not been beautiful, but he has fulfilled what he's supposed to do. And Tony Pollard is just the finisher. These guys, I still look at as one back, and we need them. It don't matter who gets the most carries, but in the playoffs, Tony do need to touch it or time to
Isaiah, when you look at these two, though, how do you use Tony Pollard the right way in a game like this against a team that is so good at stopping the run?
I mean, you heard Barry talk about, utilizing their aggression against them. Whenever you have a Zeke who, your ground and pound, like Nate always talks about, coming down here, he's the masher, right? He really breaks things up. And then you have a change of pace back like Pollard. That's why his numbers look a lot more grand than right. Zeke's do, because he's able to come with that change of pace, use his speed, and break away on those big plays. That's how to utilize him. But Zeke still provides things that Tony Pollard cannot, and that's pass protection. That's being able to hit your head up in there against some of these big fellas up front. But using Tony Pollard as that change of pace, that's how you go out there and get those big plays.
Where we can use him at is in draw situations. What I would like to see him go across the formation a couple of times. See if we can bring Fred Warner out of there. See how they're going to cover him. And that can be our way to equal their offense as far as moving people around. If we can put Tony Pollard in the slot a couple of times and see what they put out there, and if they don't put the right guy out there, hey, Dak, throw it to him because, hey, he's a playmaker.
And speaking of usage and speaking of guys that can make some damage out of the slot, what about C.D. Lamb? He has been one of the go-to receivers this season. The fans want to see a lot of CD today. He had 4 receptions, 68 yards last week. However, last year against San Francisco, just 1 reception for 5 yards. Barry, when you look at CD and what he brings to the table, is he ready for a challenge like this San Francisco defense?
I think he is definitely ready for the challenge. I mean, we've seen him step his game up in the latter part of the season and really become and really fulfill that #1 wide receiver role. And he's going to have a better game this year than he did last year. 1 catch for 5 yards is not going to get the job done against this great 49ers team. They're going to need all hands on deck when you talk about all these playmakers. Schultz, Gallup, T.Y. Hilton, all these guys are going to need a huge game. But CeeDee Lamb has got to lead the way, because if this guy isn't doing his thing, this passing attack kind of becomes non-existent.
I agree. I think we need CD to show back up. When you look at him over the last 2 games, he has 9 catches, 120 yards. Take the 3 games prior to that, he had 3 straight 100-yard games with 7 catches, 10 catches, 11 catches, and Dallas was being dominant and being able to move the ball down the field. You need his playmaking ability, and you need his leadership out there in order for his offense to move the chains against the San Francisco defense.
He's grown. Right before our very eyes, and I said at the beginning of the year, he wasn't that #1, and we talked about some of the things that he was missing. But each week, he added something to the armor. He's got stronger and stronger. He's a better route runner. He doesn't drop into those small passes that we talk about. He's got a mental attitude. He blocks now for the run game. He's the total package. But we need for to show up in the playoffs, baby, big and in live.
He's the first domino that needs to fall for this Cowboys wide receiver core, because if he's not having the same success, neither is Michael Gallup or T.Y. Hilton. Dalton Schultz showed last week that he can step up and make some plays, mostly as the security blanket for this Dallas offense, but it all starts the big playability of C.D. Lamb. Here's what he said about the opportunity at hand to make an impact against San Francisco.
It's always frustrating when, first of all, you get 1 catch. Second of all, not being as impactful. I feel like if you're not impactful, then you're not really being productive in a sense. And that's always been my cut and dry, if you will, or night and day. It's almost like night and day to me. But definitely want to be there to help the team and do whatever I got to do, to come out with this win.
One of the best offenses in the league, and you guys against one of the best defenses in the league in San Francisco. From your standpoint, in a matchup like that, what does it boil down to? What's going to be the ultimate determinant for the outcome?
Physicality and poise. Yeah, it's a lot of talent out there, offensively and defensively. So it's about who can be poised, who can do their job the best, and do it the most consistent. And I feel like we do that for regardless of who does it, do it for all 4 quarters. It's going to be a good game.
So there's C.D. Lamb, of course, looking to make an impact tonight against the San Francisco 49ers. Somebody who made an impact last week was Dalton Schultz, a career-high 95 receiving yards. He had 2 touchdowns, both in the first half, that really set the tone for the Dallas offense. Does he have to replicate some of that success against San Francisco today?
No, I don't think he needs to replicate it. It would help if he went out there and got those 2 touchdowns, but I don't think he needs to replicate it. I think he needs to go out there and be that chain mover, that guy that goes out there and is the security blanket for Dak Prescott. He's going to be dealing with a lot better coverage from these 49ers defense when you talk about the Greenlaws, the Fred Warners of the world, the Wards that are going to be coming down there and checking him. But if he can be that security blanket that moves the chains on 3rd and 5s and 3rd and 7s, that's all this team needs. And I don't need for him to go out there and have all these touchdowns. Just move the chains, big fella.
Yeah, big fella. I don't care if you get 2 touchdowns, but I do need you to catch some first downs. Because if he is getting the ball in his hands, that means that this running game is effective. Why is that important? Because Dak Prescott likes to throw the ball off of play-action passes. And who does he like to look to? Well, right there at the first level is going to be Dalton Schultz. When his receptions are high, we're running the ball pretty doggone well.
I agree with you 100%, Isaiah. When this guy is doing what he needs to do for us, just moving the chains, we're very much an effective team, and that makes it easier for our quarterback to settle down. And if we can get to him early and often in this game, it'll be even better for us.
It'll be even better if you can get some special teams production, too, to go along with Dalton Schultz and what this wide receiving core, this pass catchers can do. I'm interested to see what Kevontae Turpin can do today. Is it finally Turpin time, Isaiah, to go take one to the house?
I hope so, because I know the one time we was in the preseason, Kyle, you and I called his punt return and his kick return. Ever since he's fumbled that ball on that punt return, this dude has been anxious, so anxious like Genuine. He wants to get this ball back in his hands and take it back so bad. I hope that he's able to have a spark, because whenever you have a big special teams play by a returner, it seems to just lively up the team.
You and me both, man. I hope he goes out there and scores a touchdown, but more importantly, if he's not able to get that touchdown out there, at least set your offense up with great field position. If we can get great field position for this offense and have a short field for Dak Prescott to go out there and do work, it's going to prove huge dividends for this Dallas Cowboys football team.
What I would say is that, hey, we had the great Kevin Martin when I played. What I would say for Turpin is, them guys up front, make sure they do their jobs, because every time Turpin does make a play, we don't need it coming back with a flag. So make sure if you think you're finna hit a guy in the back, just pull up, man, because Turpin can make him miss.
Yeah, Turpin, the Pro Bowler this year, has been so close on a couple of occasions to finally break it to the house. I think today, I'm going to make a bold prediction here on Pregame Live. I think he does it off of a punt return.
Wow.
I think he gets a touchdown today. Kevontae Turpin's going to take it in for 6. Now, one of the guys that's credited with bringing in Kevontae Turpin, signing him as the USFL MVP, Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. He's now joining Nick Eatman on the sidelines at Levi's Stadium out in San Fran.
Thanks, guys. Nick Eatman here with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. We've done it all year. Let's keep it rolling. Levi's Stadium, divisional round, Cowboys 49ers. This is what it's supposed to be, right? After they knocked you guys out last year, it felt like your team was like all year long, we're going to get to the level of, maybe not the 49ers, but we're going to be a physical football team, and we're going to be ready for whatever happens in the playoffs, and here we are.
Absolutely. That's why you're in the business now. For giant games like this, doesn't get any better than this. You know, I remember when our family first got in the league back in the early 90s, of course, coming out here to play them to get to go to the Super Bowl. And, you know, they were what everybody was striving to be. I think they'd won 4 championships, or 3 or 4 at the time. And, you know, here we are again. Yeah. And they got us last year at our place. I know this. I know our team's prepared. Mike's got them prepared. They had a great week of practice. And hopefully we can return a favor.
When you go out to practice every week and you see a good week of practice, what specifically do you see that kind of says, all right, we're in this, we're locked in?
I think attention, focus to detail, attention and focus to detail. I think the you know, at the end of the day, the tenacity, the focus, you know, getting out there and doing your work and being totally focused on the job at hand. And certainly our guys displayed that all week in terms of you know, what they were doing in practice, each play, getting in a rhythm, executing, getting on the field and getting off the field.
What's going to be the key for the offense? Obviously, Dak had a great game. Is it going to be running the football, getting the other receivers involved? Balance? What do you think is the key on offense?
I think it's all the above, what you just mentioned, balance. I mean, we've all year we've wanted to run the football. We've loved to keep that ratio 50-50 when we can, and when we do it and we do it well, we usually get good results. Certainly on defense, we want to be physical. We want to attack and tackle. And so, of course, we've got to start with stopping their running game. It's dynamic. I mean, they run a lot of speed sweeps. They got some dynamic players over there. And then, of course, we can get that run and reverse a little bit, then we got to get pressure, and certainly we've got the guys to get pressure.
They say Brock Purdy's a rookie. I don't see it when we watch him play. I mean, he's done an amazing job. How does your team get him to play like a rookie, or maybe make this thing bigger, for him?
Like I just said, we got to start by stopping the run. They use that run to protect him well, and then use our pressure guys to get pressure on them. Whether you're a rookie or a veteran, no one likes pressure, and if we can stop that run and get pressure, I think good things will happen for us on the defensive side of the ball.
Not sure if you saw it maybe 5 minutes ago, Brett Maher trying to get his kicks in. The 49ers had some players in front kind of trying to get in his head. That's to be expected. He still made some kicks. Do you feel like he's in a right place mentally here, and do you guys have confidence in him?
Absolutely. From the top down, obviously organizationally, the coaching staff, the players, everybody appreciates the job he's done all year for the Cowboys, and we have nothing but confidence in him that he's going to go out there and do a great job for us today when called upon.
All right, we appreciate it. You've been here every week, and we'll see you next week, right, Stephen?
Sounds great.
Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Kyle, we'll throw it back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Nick and Steven, live on the sidelines at Levi's Stadium. We are still live here from the Tostitos Championship Plaza, where we're wrapping up Cowboys pregame live in front of an incredible crowd of Cowboys fans getting ready to watch the Cowboys take on the San Francisco 49ers. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. We're going to wrap things up the same way we do every week, and that is by giving our keys to the game. But first, we got to go back out to AT&T Stadium real quick. Haley Sutton, what's your keys to the Cowboys getting a win?
Hey, thanks so much, Kyle. One final check here at the Miller Lite House at AT&T Stadium as we get ready for kickoff between the Cowboys and the 49ers. Here's my keys to the game. Number one, you're going to have to force turnovers. Get in Brock Purdy's face, make him make mistakes, and make him throw a couple of picks. He really hasn't seen any elite defenses this year that have tested him. I'd like to see this Cowboys defense test him. And Brett Maher's got to make his kicks. My prediction here comes down to a game-winning kick. I think he was just in a rut last week, a little bit of an anomaly for him. So Brett Maher is going to have to make his kicks, and we are going to have to capitalize on our opportunities on offense. So that's my keys to the game. I'll send it back out to you guys at the Tostitos Plaza.
Thank you very much, Haley, out there at the Miller Lite House. Of course, fans still filing in, getting their seats. Barry, what's your key to the Cowboys moving on to their first NFC title game since 1996?
Well, I think the keys rely on the defensive side of the football. We've got to stop Christian McCaffrey out here. I think that their offense starts and stops with C-Mac's ability to rush the football. We got to be able to contain him and force them to rely on Brock Purdy's arm. Let's go defense.
Well, I think we need to turn Mr. Purdy into Miss Purdy. I need him on the ground. I need to see him on the ground 3 times, and I need 2 interceptions. This defense gets that, we get the W.
We win this game if our offense and defensive lines play well. And more importantly, we need to tackle. All right?
Got to gang tackle. You got to be physical. You got to win the battle at the line of scrimmage. My key, win the turnover battle. You got to win the turnover margin against a team that takes care of the football. And they like to take it away, but nobody takes it away better than the Dallas Cowboys. Nate's getting in on the chance. That's going to do it for us here from the Tostitos Championship Plaza. It's officially 20 minutes until kickoff. We are ready for the divisional round matchup between the Cowboys and the 49ers. Dak Prescott is ready to roll from Levi's Stadium. 5:30 kickoff on Fox. For Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, Haley Sutton, Nick Eatman, and our entire DallasCowboys.com crew, I'm Kyle Yeomans saying so long from the Star in Frisco. Enjoy the game, everybody. Go Cowboys. Let's go to an NFC title game, everybody.